We're a go. Welcome, and fucking welcome to Clever Orbits. We are here this evening with our special guest star. What's your last name, Vincent?
Villaverde.
Vincent Villaverde. That's what I'm going to go with. I am one of your consistent hosts, Louis Brantmeyer. We also have
Richard Futrell.
Steven Guertin.
And a Stefanie Jemison.
I like how you said a Stefanie Jemison, as if there's more than one.
Several.
There must be.
Not the best one.
And tonight we're going to talk about The Last Jedi, Star Wars Episode 8. It is a lot of fun, making of these podcasts. I've got some notes. Other people have a lot of opinions and thoughts and views that I'm really excited to hear and interact with. I'm going to go ahead and say that I gave this film an unashamed and unabashed A-, but we're not going to go straight to grades here. We're going to go with initial impressions. Did you guys like it? I loved it.
I loved it. I really. Like, it had some minutes.
Bum, bum, bum.
It was worth the $9. I'm going to say that.
Steve just saw it for the first time.
This is true. I believe that it delivered on pretty much all the points that you would want to get out of a Star Wars movie. So I was quite satisfied with it. That said, there are some glaring plot holes that I believe we will bring up.
So we can drive an AT-AT through.
I'd say I liked it, but I didn't love it.
Oh. Yeah, I mean...
And I wish I could.
Oh, that's great. That's great. That's sad. I like that you've got the Star Wars glasses. I just noticed
Yes.
that's really well done.
It's worth mentioning, as a special occasion, this is the first time we're all recording in person.
Together at a table where we can see each other and not interrupt. Like we do when we're on Skype or Discord.
Talking now, Louis? Or no?
With Discord, there's this really annoying bling, bling, bling,
Yeah.
whenever you mute. So, I'm just going to start with some of my notes. Supreme Leader Snoke is a fucking silly name. Just Supreme Leader as a concept, first of all, is just, what? No. It's like a space opera, which maybe they were going for that.
That's exactly what it is.
Well,
Okay.
well, you know what, though? They did change his name. He's now Supreme Leader Smoked.
That's lame.
Please, everyone continue being oppressively silent to Steven's attempt at a joke.
I like it.
Edit that out.
No, we're gonna leave that. And then Snoke kind of sounds like something from Harry Potter.
Smoke.
It
So,
does, yeah.
Like-
George Lucas's bullshit names had,
Jar Jar Binks.
so that's a separate issue entirely. So they had Grievous and Maul. He's Darth Maul. Maul is a physical, he got punched in the face. So real obvious things. Snoke means nothing.
It really doesn't.
Yeah.
So
I wish we had Private Bad Guy.
and he meant nothing at the end. Oh man,
we all like that he got chopped in half.
What
That
a
was
bitch.
very
It was a
interesting.
very cool scene.
That was
where I got
cool.
shut down.
That's
It was
skipping-
really
It was a
satisfying.
great scene, but
that was
I'm
skipping
worried
ahead.
about,
That's cool.
I feel like Force Awakens set up Snoke as this great mystery, this great scary thing, and then he just gets
Yes.
killed. And he's killed in
A
a
lot
great
of people
scene,
are very
but
disappointed about
now
that,
It's
yeah.
kind of like, are we going to find out who he was? It's not going to really matter. It's not going to have any emotional impact anymore.
I think that's the central theme of the movie. That everyone failed. Snoke included. The rebels failed.
The Luke did not fail.
Everyone's
failed
dead.
and learned from
Luke
Everyone's dead.
transcended his physical form. He succeeded in doing everything that he was supposed to do
He
according to the will of the
succeeded
Force.
in not having Rey die, and that's pretty much it.
And he inspired me.
And he saved the
He
resistance.
Still, but he still made a little Sith,
Cranky
Yeah, that
and
was his-
frustrated.
yeah, that was his failure, too.
So he made a new
mean-
Darth Vader that wasn't a bitch. That's pretty much what he made.
A new Darth Vader without a mask.
Yeah.
I love that
He was
aspect of the thing.
he
That
was
he was
more
like, take that
powerful,
stupid
yeah.
thing off, right?
He
That
just-
the mask was just
yes.
not. It was an affect. It was a complete affectation. Like
So,
it was in order to look
yeah.
imposing. Which honestly, that mask is kind of scarier than the Darth Vader mask, in my opinion. He did. He just has this voice.
Breathing
He
problem,
just.
like
It sounds like his mask.
You can't be intimidated by someone with COPD.
So yeah, I thought
He's got one remaining limb. I mean, come on.
I thought Dreadnought was also kind of lazy. I mean, like, that's what you name whatever your big,
Was that
terrible
their
thing.
capital ship then?
Yeah, their capital
Yeah.
ship that was destroyed in that really epic, beautiful, elegant, anime-like scene when they shoot the
opening
hyperspace.
scene?
No, at the very
Oh,
end.
yeah.
Oh, actually, you're right. It was Snoke's ship that was destroyed by the hyperspace jump.
There's quite a bit of
near the
anime
end.
influence in this. I hadn't thought of that, but
Really?
especially in the visuals, like that huge ship.
Well, Rian Johnson is making his own film.
Oh, yeah?
It's really entertaining. Like how he follows that one character in the bomber so closely, and you really develop a sense of empathy for that character over just those 30, 40 seconds. And like, it's a totally different type of film because she's not part of the main cast.
I like that
She's
too.
not some special person. And then so is the kid at the end. So are the kids that you see on Canto Bight. Like, they are just your everyman, which I think is where they're going, both from Rey in the first movie through to her, gaining force powers without having to be trained, and that kid using the force to grab that broom. Yeah. So like, there's a deregulation and there's a maybe democratization. I don't even know the right word of the force going on here. There's like an access that's being
So
enabled.
it's not midichlorians anymore? It's just
don't
part of the
Wait.
universe?
His name's
Well,
not
they
Ryan?
did
Well,
make the
I mean-
prequels canon again by him mentioning Darth Sidious. So
Here's what's going on. The Jedi were not allowed to reproduce. So in all the species in the galaxy while the Jedi were around, evolution was selecting against being force sensitive because force sensitive people did reproduce. So now we're 2 generations out from that. It's coming back.
oh, that's really cool because the
That's a very
Jedi
good
were theocratically selecting, cultivating, organizing, and controlling anybody who had these powers.
Yeah.
And so it's like Kylo says, we're beyond the Sith, we're beyond the Jedi.
What would've
We've
been
got
really
something new and
cool-
different.
Wait, is that in your notes?
It
Get
does
to
sound
later?
new and different, but it doesn't actually really go there. He says, we're gonna, he says the Sith, the Jedi, let's all move past it. Then he just goes back and does the same old Sith thing.
I was confused by that myself. I
It's
thought
like-
thematically it was problematic.
Like they want to move beyond it, but they actually
Yeah.
can't because it just ends up being the same old Sith First Order Rebel Resistance.
Yes. The really cool thing would have been if Rey would have joined Kylo after they chopped that fool in half, and then you know what? Fuck the old world. We're gonna make something new and interesting.
Yes.
That was where I thought they were going.
I really wanted
so you
him
have
to
the-
join her. I really
So-
thought that would have been interesting.
And it just...
Well,
Yeah, let's make something new. The Jedi, Luke's
Yes.
dead. The Jedi are gone at that point. And once Luke dies, the Jedi are effectively gone.
Dead.
And then Snoke
Luke
is dead. The
ascended.
Sith are gone. There's no more Sith. There's no Master, Apprentice, anything. The Rule 2 is gone. So you have a Solo and a random girl, and that's it. So both religions who are around for thousands of years are gone. They could have done whatever they wanted with the story, but then they decided to cliche it into inevitability, which is extremely sad.
I agree because
Very Disney move.
to completely agree with like where they should have gone. To your point,
Esoteric Chinese energy practice.
they set this up with
Gets me high.
with Luke and with his talking basically about the vanity of the Jedi Order and like if Luke is the last Jedi and this is really we've been since like the prequels at the least we've been talking about like bringing balance to the Force and all that would have been a case where basically you have someone that's like light side oriented and someone that's dark side oriented like basically forming like a yin and yang or Tao and Da like
Oh, the hot, sexy scenes would have been.
Please don't touch my phone. Thank you. So, I think it would have been cool for there to have been a Finn Rey thing. I also think it would have been cool for there to have been a thing between Kylo and Rey.
It seemed
Like
like
Grey
there was,
Jedi.
right?
Actually
Yeah.
Grey Jedi.
They were having
Kylo
like,
Ren was
it's like they were
obvious.
texting at night and those two they were like
Yeah, and then Luke steps in and he's like, oh my god.
there was a lot of sexual tension between them.
there was.
There was.
It was
There
very
was.
No, it's so
And then
yeah.
she actually was opening up. There was real empathy, which was where that came from.
So in this galaxy, we only know of 2 of the Force-sensitive individuals, right? Rey and Kylo.
Well, we know the kid at
What-
the end.
Well, I mean,
We also know
he's also not 20, and he cannot do
Poe
anything with Rey.
seems to be force sensitive.
I
It's
don't know
indicated
about
by the
that.
vibrations like waking him up. The way that the scene is set up is she is suffering, she's like screaming, and then he wakes up as if he's feeling something. And also, which is kind of in the same way that Kylo gets awoken by the dark side of the Force just before Hux tries to kill him by shooting him. Like that is how I read that scene. Is why does he wake up in such a synchronistic random moment? Like, is he just lucky? No. There's this thing in this movie called the Force that does things according to some sort of an intention and cultivates, this master kind of plan that people are participating in. So, like, I don't know. I think they're more than just Finn. I think a lot of people are Force sensitive. I think that's the whole message of the film.
That's possible, but and the Jedi, they tested pretty much everyone for Force sensitivity, for planets that the old Republic had under control to find those people. Mm-hmm. But the story had nothing to do with Force sensitive people other than Kylo Ren, Luke, Snoke, and Rey. That's it. Leia, get to that, I guess, probably.
Leia, okay, can we talk about that scene a little bit, though? Where she gets shot from space, and somehow...
Oh, yeah, please.
She is saved by her Force sensitivity, and she, like,
well, she's
herself.
suddenly impervious to death by space vacuum.
Yes.
Yeah. She can even open her eyes in space.
Yeah. I mean,
you
like...
open your eyes in space.
And she just kind of, like,
You'll just die very quickly, right? Because the vacuum will suck out the blood from your...
The time, I can't quite figure out what the time was in that scene. So, the ship blew up, and then it switched, and they came back to it later, right?
It blew up.
Yeah, in like a couple minutes or something. They really wanted you to feel like she was dead.
Yeah, and then it showed Kylo Ren's face. It was like, brooding or something. And then it had another scene, and then came back to her, and then she goes, and then ropes herself in. In reality, if they were filming a continuous spot, it would have been like 12 seconds, right?
You can totally survive in space. Isn't it like 30 seconds?
As long as you don't breathe in or you close your nostrils and your mouth. And
I was just like, can I do
We're
that?
all holding our breath here.
To see if we can't, like, breathe in for 10 seconds.
What about the pressure differential, though? Because they're
If
144
diffusion or something?
per inch.
Yeah.
And like air pressure, so 144.
So if you can use the Force to pull your ass into the ship 50 meters away, I assume you can put a little wall around your orifices.
Of like oxygen. Yeah, maybe she sucked the oxygen. I mean, if she can move herself, she moved the oxygen. She moved it into like a bubble.
Clever orbits where we talk about wall
orifices. Cheers.
Yeah, just to prevent the differential, of pressure from transferring from one system, which is your head, to the outside, which is the rest of the universe.
Well, we're on the topic of space. There's a few space
Are we really on the topic? Space what?
There's bombers.
Yes, gravity.
That's not an homage right there. So
here's the issue. It looks like it's gravity that's making it happen by the way that they fall, but it's actually got to be magnetism.
Yes,
in order for it to
literally
work
nothing moves on its own in space.
Yeah.
They got magnetically guided bombs. Why don't they shoot them from really far away?
And then also there was no vacuum sucking that woman who was like pressing the button to open the things. Like she was against a grill that was open to space.
The Asian
Technically speaking, it would be the air pushing her.
Yeah. So she.
That's possible. It's possible.
That's
And now that I think about it, that makes sense.
So that part of this space opera was not true to life.
Or maybe they have little magnets and things that just clamp down and they just kind of force.
So that beginning, that was like a Tora type shit, man. That was
they were really going for like
World War II a bombing scene.
Like
that's what they had. Poe Dameron was like, fuck you, LOL, to the commander, and then they brought.
Yeah, that was actually I loved that.
That was funny.
I'll hold.
People were raging on that. I thought it was cute.
It was very much like, in the first film when he says, who speaks first? Me? You?
Yeah.
Me? You?
So it was a bit. It was a bit. And then Hux is a bitch. I'm not going to lie. He's a bitch. He's, General Hux.
The blonde, the
Imperial,
classic
he's
Nazi
not
looking
Imperial.
guy.
He's First Order, commander of the Legions. Yeah. Except Tarkin was way off.
The ginger bitch.
He was. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll call him a ginger bitch.
The ginger bitch.
The ginger bitch.
So, he is completely insecure, and he's not confident.
Actually, I want to talk about this later on in the film.
That's why he got fooled, because he would believe someone not, believing him that he's General Hux. And then he got fooled, and Poe Dameron...
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's why it worked.
Wise or not, he's insecure, and he's like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And then the bombers came in, and...
he stalled them.
That Tor, man, it was an obvious World War II homage to Bomber, which has nothing to do with space, but of course, Star Wars isn't exactly scientifically based.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great scene. It was emotionally impactful. The Asian lady, which is way hotter than her sister, was down there.
It set up Rose's story. And her arc.
So, hey, we'll get to that. And so she bang, she's like kicking the thing, and it comes down. And for some reason, they didn't blow it out of the sky. And then she dropped one bomber, was apparently enough to destroy a giant Star Destroyer. Which
in just the right spot.
Yeah.
Like, they picked the exact right spot. She happened to be over it in just the right moment.
I don't understand that. She goes against every Star Wars game I've ever played in my life.
But it's in total agreement with every Star Wars movie you've ever seen. You know, the Empire.
The
Empire always builds the self-destruct button somewhere.
The one thing.
You know that spot.
Even the Super Star Destroyer and A-Wing came in and then launched a few torpedo or missiles and then crashed into a control room.
Yeah.
One fighter was all the difference. Although all those rebels
the
died.
Super Star Destroyer, right?
All the rebels died in Last Jedi.
Which was the Executor, by the way.
Yes, it was. And then the Empire, or the First Order rather, didn't matter. And then all those rebels died. They were down 50%.
So I want to talk some more about how insecure Hux is. There's a really great scene right near the end where Kylo speaks, "That's enough," and then Hux yells, "That's enough." It's just super clear, like, he doesn't believe in his own power in the situation, and he's afraid of losing that power.
Yes.
And he kind of, like, subconsciously even might be creating situations to foment the loss of that power. Like, and then the fight between him and Kylo initially, like, after Snoke gets killed and Rey leaves, like, where he's like, "We have no supreme leader. Basically, I'm going to try to gain power," and then he's like, "Oh," right? Like, "Oh, here's the true power." I love seeing him get beat up, made fun of, just like, thrown against the side of the ship. That was classic. My brother said it was his favorite scene. Yeah.
Hux is a minion. Mm-hmm. That's his job. He's a minion. You know, when someone with
doesn't have independent thought, doesn't have like character that's
vision
worthwhile,
or gross power comes into play, Hux has no meaning. He's just, you could kill Hux and then tell the other commanders who are pretty much in the same room, right? At pretty much every scene in the movie where Hux gives orders and Kylo's there to do something. Hux, all he does is repeat the orders that Kylo says. He says, "Go kill this fool."
Exactly.
Hux says, "Go kill this fool."
Right.
And then they go do it. That reminds me of my company. That's bureaucracy right there. First order
bureaucracy. B-E-R.
B-E-U-R, whatever.
Oh, I sounded like B-E-E-R.
That's a rough word, man. That's one of the tough ones. But
Hux
doesn't...
Well, I thought the joke was that they're all drunk or something.
Even in the first movie, Hux didn't really have a point. He was a generic commander. He wasn't even a Tarkin.
He could have been eliminated easily and replaced.
So Tarkin had a very specific job. He had character, and he was over Darth Vader. He was over the only openly Force active person in the universe, the galaxy, other than people
than all the dead Jedi.
The Palpatine didn't really realize he was Force, but people knew Darth Vader was an enforcer, and he went and killed people. That was his job. He said, "There are some Jedi's and rebels. Go kill all of them," and that's what Darth Vader did. And Tarkin was over him. And Hux, what did he do? The Republic, the New Republic, was blown up. The bullshit Death Star number 3 killed 19 planets at the same time, killed all their fleets, and then Hux had no real competition. He didn't build himself up. He didn't figure out any kind of interesting military strategy. He just had a giant machine behind him
that he could yell about.
Yelled about. And remember when we went to Vader, and then Vader choked his ass out, and he said, "Don't let your wait, no, that's the other one.
That's Empire Strikes Back, I think.
No, that was Rogue One. But
okay.
He was essentially Hux in Rogue One.
Oh, the other guy. You're talking about the guy who
not
it was not. We can call him not Hux.
The Death Star designer guy.
Yeah, and he claimed credit for it, and then Tarkin took credit.
Yeah. So he went up there, and Vader was like, "You're a bitch," and he's like, "Yeah," because he can't do anything.
Yeah.
He has no real.
And he went to Mustafar to visit Vader, and Vader's just like, "All right, man."
Yeah, I'll crack you out, man.
Anyway, we're a little far from like
so
the Last Jedi.
A bitch, and he's still alive. He's still alive though.
I like how Snoke talks about how he's used.
Yeah, he's a rabid cur.
You can use someone's weakness to manipulate them. And then you see him in the very next scene, you see him doing that same exact trick on Kylo, using his weakness to manipulate him. And then when Kylo is turning to Rey, you can see that he does exactly the same trick on her because he identified that her weakness is her thinking about her parents, and he says, "You're nothing because your parents are nothing, but you're something to me."
Right.
So that's like the basic Sith treating training is how do you manipulate people with her. You can see it play out perfectly. And you can see that Kylo's been very well trained.
Yeah, with his even up to the very end when he kills Snoke, like it's his weaknesses, but Snoke miscalculated.
Yeah.
Like, and Snoke allowed a certain ambiguity to develop in that relationship to where Kylo started realizing for himself, oh, this guy really is just using me, and I need to get power now because I can.
Well, he kind of spelled it out verbally, where he said that he completely and how he really wrapped around his finger.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe it was just right there.
I mean,
One thing about that scene kind of confused me because I felt like it was a very clear picture painted that like Snoke was this like very, very that he was extremely strong with the Force, stronger than like many of the other people that we've seen, possibly as strong as Luke, and was inherently like stronger than Kylo. At least that was what I thought.
He looked stronger than everybody.
He looked stronger than
from the way
everyone.
that he was able to perform.
And so the scene leading up to Kylo executing him, he's literally like, supposedly, he thinks he's in Kylo's mind. He thinks that he can feel his emotions and his feelings. So what does that say about Kylo Ren's power if he was actually able to conceal that when Snoke was like basically directly looking right at him?
that's more powerful.
Yeah. He's a Skywalker. He's got that Skywalker blood in him, is what Luke says.
I blame Disney for that shit. So you had so in Force Awakens you had Snoke, which is mysterious. It was pretty much the Emperor, right? Mm-hmm. In A New Hope,
which introduced a little too soon too. I feel like
you knew that there was someone else.
Mm-hmm. There had to be, yeah.
But and then in Force Awakens, you just had this hologram of some crazy looking guy.
You thought he was huge, right?
Yeah,
you hoped he was huge, but it ended up just being a hologram. But it was like a giant bad guy with the Force wielding.
And he did absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Once he was revealed, he was surrounded by men.
Yeah, he's surrounded by some fucking Imperial guards.
Right. Oh, I loved those guards.
Oh,
I mean the ones from this one, not the ones that were not used.
I don't quite understand what the whole point was. Disney, like in this movie, I feel Disney had such a giant fingerprint.
Yeah, Ryan Johnson just sort of threw away the whole Snoke plot line.
Yeah,
a lot of
Snoke was supposed to be the main bad guy, right?
Force Awakens leaves a lot of threads dangling, and it leaves a lot of mystery. Like, who is Snoke? What's Luke going to do? And I feel like this one sort of closes them all off and doesn't really give us new mystery.
Well, everybody's going to be disappointed about Snoke.
What are we excited about finding out in the next movie? Like, is Kylo
what happens? That's pretty much it. Like, what happens next?
Can we skip to that discussion right here?
Well, there's some more about the film. Like,
let's
the throne room. Steve had a lot to say about the throne room.
Well,
right out of the theater.
Well, I thought that it was very aesthetically appealing.
It's fucking gorgeous.
It was cool looking.
Interesting. Richard mentioned the people with eyes, right? What was it?
Yeah, in the first few scenes in that room, you can see there's some scary people with hoods and weird eyes next to a machine or something in the background. You never find out what they're doing, but it's something scary.
And then there's the machine that red one of the guards gets thrown into and vaporizes.
It's a weird machine.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like awesome.
The Emperor in that throne room.
I like how minimalist it was compared to, say, like the Emperor's throne room.
Yeah, there was a little less going on.
Steve Jobs would have liked it. He might not have liked that road.
iThrone.
Yeah, we're actually in this house. We have one of those. They
do.
So Vincent and Stefanie showed us around, and in the back there was. We're just going to share about this. It's Snoke's throne. It's a toilet, and it's raised, and it's beautiful as far as toilet seats go.
Survey the landscape.
So I loved just an abrupt shift. I loved the way that the backdrop dissolved during the fight.
I thought hitting it. You could see it was breaking up as they hit it.
And then debris seemed to be a visual thematic element for most of it. The end of the film, like the breakup of the ships, the raining of the stuff on the planet, the debris in the shuttle. Well, yeah, okay, you can go there if you want. In the shuttle bay, I loved how big and tall the shuttle bay was, and how you get this sense of really intense dimensionality. And then when it explodes and deconstructs, it's like weird the way that it blows up, and then how Phasma falls down through it. There was a lot of visually just gorgeous. And
visually, it was flawless.
Yeah, Phasma was also very disdisappointing. I feel
Gwendolyn Christie, come on, man. She fought so many people in Game of Thrones. She's a giant fucking wild lady. Man, she come up in here, she whap with a 9-foot broadsword, and she had a fucking pointy ass stick. Are you kidding me?
Didn't do shit with it.
You know what? So she's a soldier, right? she should have pulled out a fucking blaster and shot Finn right in the face.
Useless.
That would have been the real thing. And
Yeah.
an intelligent individual would, I have honor. No, you don't, bitch. You got twisted your arm in
Yeah, we don't
the
even know why
space
she was
station.
wearing that mask. Like clearly she didn't need it.
She didn't need it. So
I mean,
like
it made
in
it
the
look
first
cool,
one,
I guess. I don't know.
In the first one, like Chewie rolled up on her, right?
yeah, that was it.
And then
it was
like,
super easy to
so
subdue
if
her.
a 9-foot hairy dude rolled up to me and said, "I'm going to rip you in half if you don't do what I tell you," I'd be inclined to do what he told me, and that makes sense.
9-foot hair.
But in the second movie, she just comes up and is like, "I'm an honorable soldier." No, you're not. You're part of the First Order. You're killing people all the time. Civilians, animals, it doesn't matter. And then she's like, "I'm going to fight you with a fucking stick." Why would you do that? Shoot him in the face. That's your character. So that's part of the movie. Like Chewie's character, this pissed me off. Chewie is a ferocious beast.
And then he doesn't eat the pork.
Yes. So he's a Wookiee. His whole thing is when he loses and he doesn't like you, he rip your fucking
You're
arm off.
right.
Rip your arm.
And he's
That's
like a
his
big
character.
teddy bear now.
Yeah,
I mean, he
and
had
then he's
elements
like-
of that in like the
Yeah.
earlier films,
So
but
that-
now
that's
he's
for his
just
friends.
predominantly.
That's for his friends. He has fierce loyalty, like a dog.
He
He's a
clearly
space
killed
dog.
that porg.
Yeah.
He clearly killed a porg
Yes.
or two and had begun to eat them, and then another
Yes.
one walks up.
Yes, and he's like,
suddenly,
"Oh,
yeah,
I feel bad for you." No. Chewie would have eaten that bitch and be like, "You better run away."
Of course, you know, the
Or I'm gonna
porgs
eat
are more
you."
successful than Ewoks. I think there was a lot more empathy generated and belief in the possibility of these creatures than Ewoks. Ewoks were just fucking annoying. and just
I
terrible.
have a soft spot in my heart for Ewoks. I have to admit.
So I
You
mean,
didn't see the Ewok Adventure where they had the little grandpa?
Christmas special.
Oh,
Did
the
you play?
Christmas
The Star Wars Holiday
That was
Special.
on the holiday special.
Did you play the
Ewok
Super
Adventure.
Nintendo game? Okay. Plays Wicket.
Let's refresh everyone's memory that in the Christmas special,
No.
Chewbacca's son is named Lumpy.
That's no longer canon, man.
Yeah, it's no longer canon.
J.J. Abrams says it was canon.
Strike that from the record. He doesn't know what he's doing. He has lens flare when he's looking through first person perspectives. He knows what he's doing. Man.
So back to the guards, right? They were really cool. They were really
cool.
elegant. I love when they
cool.
like get into it with Rey and Kylo. That was perhaps the greatest action
That was
sequence
a
for the
very
whole
cool
film.
scene. Lightsabers have such a
I like
weight.
that they have this shield, right? My theory is that they're force sensitive. That's how they can see with a
What about
fucking
the
thing in
Knights
their
of Ren?
face.
What happened to them?
Could they be the Knights of Ren?
One of my
No.
ideas was
No, not because I mean he
I
killed
think
them
the Knights
all.
of Ren is just another thing.
Wait,
that this
no,
movie
we-
just-
That we never find out about. Yeah, we
in
never
the
get an
Force-
answer
in The
to.
Force Awakens were shown the Knights of Ren. Briefly.
Yeah, there are a bunch of
And they're in
Jedi
black.
who-
They're all in black, just like Kylo Ren.
So the Jedi that he took along with him that Luke mentions within part of the Jedi school,
Yeah.
are those guys that are surrounding?
Presumably,
Yeah.
that's what I think. Oh wait, no, I thought that those were the Knights of Ren.
Well, then he didn't train very big. That sucks.
No. The
Yeah,
red
we
guys,
never
I
hear
don't think
about
the
them
red guys
again.
were the Knights of Ren. I think that was just the.
Where are those
the-
guys then? Like, where are his apprentices?
That's a very good
I want
question.
to know that.
Maybe he starts a Sith school in the next one,
I don't know.
which would be
You know,
kind of
one
boring.
big
But
thing that I noticed is that Kylo Ren or Rey or any of those other guys, assuming they're force sensitive, never use the force in that fight scene. They're like, "Let me whack you with my lightsaber," and I was like, "What? Couldn't you just choke his ass?"
I think when she like does that jump down and curves around to
Yeah.
grab the lightsaber as it falls, I think she was kind of using her predictive feeling sense
but
to
you
know
could
how
do
that
that
was
with a
gonna happen.
regular sword.
Yeah.
Also true.
A regular
I agree.
person could do that with a regular sword. There wasn't some kind of like, you like twist his fucking arm like backwards and then like hop over him and then stab him in the back of the head. Do something crazy.
Right, like
They
when
they
you
have
have
the
the-
entire force capabilities. They were fighting with Snoke, right, with the force. Like Rey was at least trying to. You know, she grabbed the saber. She wanted to go after him. Snoke was doing some crazy shit with some ground lightning, some crazy shit. And then they started fighting the red dudes. And then there's like 6 red dudes surrounding him. Like, I'm just gonna walk up to you with my sword and then smack you with it like a regular sword. There was no, I'm gonna launch it at your face and you're dead.
He could have done that. We've seen that kind of thing
we've
happen.
seen him use the force with these things, but they just didn't. I guess you could argue that when Rey threw him the blade and then went right to that dude's face, which is awesome.
Yeah,
Zap.
it was
That
really
could have
cool.
been a force bit, but it seems like if they would have used the force, that would have been a real easy fight.
I mean,
Because
I
they didn't seem to be able to combat anything interesting or inventive.
Well, I
Structurally,
think-
you could probably just like force boomerang a lightsaber all around the room.
Yeah, zoom,
And
zoom,
just,
zoom.
Oh,
just
yeah.
totally knock it out. But
I
it's
mean,
not gonna be
It's a
as
force
interesting.
frisbee.
I mean,
Yeah.
It's a light frisbee.
at least give us like a force push. You know?
Something that's true.
in
He
general.
didn't try to pull their weapons from.
Yeah,
their hand.
especially after
He
the
didn't try to
scene where he
push them.
destroys the whole building above Luke. Several times we see that he can.
That's when he was like years ago, right?
Yeah.
How old was he?
He must be more powerful now after all the training.
And then he didn't do shit. He just like fuck. It was a cool, but he just fucking whacked him like it was a broadsword, and he didn't have force at all. They fought like so. He had the it was with Rey had the knife against her neck, right?
No, he had a knife against his knife.
Yeah. I was like, wait a minute.
They each did at the same time.
Can't
Yeah,
you
they
just,
both had the
can't
same
you
kind
just
of issue.
force push this bitch away from you with your mind
Don't
at any
think
point in
about
time?
it too hard.
It was.
And
I
then
mean,
stab him in the face?
it was what it was, and it could have been
Force-based
more.
fighting.
It was a great scene. It was a fantastic fight, but it didn't quite make sense from what they were capable
None
of.
of the force-based fighting's like what it would really be like if force-sensitive people actually. It would just be very different. It would be all.
That was just the
stuff
basic
flying
thing.
around.
I mean,
You'd think that most of the Jedi would be oriented towards
I mean,
turning people off mentally rather than actually fighting.
Yeah.
Peace is
Yeah.
their way,
so,
right? So first of all,
Darth Vader
De-escalate.
misfought.
But that only works
Yeah.
on the weak-minded, though.
When,
and most people
That
are.
was set up in New Hope.
when Vader and Luke fought in Empire and Jedi, it was
Let's-
emotionally charged.
After this thread, let's get back to the
Okay.
Jedi, the Last Jedi. So I think one of the things that was really cool about this whole thing was the hyperspace jump as a weapon. It was so
How
so
come that wasn't a
gorgeous.
standard weapon?
That's what I'm saying.
If it's so effective, like
could throw it
make your
eight
bomb.
You'd think in the history of hyperspace
A torpedo
jumps.
that goes type light speed,
We-
which clearly like X-wings are, even though they're small, can go to light speed. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
That's a good
It's like
point.
we lose bolts at work at the frequency.
I just thought
where
it was
if
cool.
we launch
I mean-
them into light space, it's like a nuke.
Yeah.
So the Mon Cal cruiser fucking went pow into light space and killed like 50,000 people immediately.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And
pretty
did you see? It looked like it went through the big ship and through
It's-
other ships.
I mean,
Like maybe she calculated a hyperspace
It
jump
broke
that
into a
went
lot of
through.
yeah,
pieces.
physics
Oh, okay.
means nothing at this point in time because they're going like some kind of weird light speed or faster, and it just fucks everybody up. This one ship. You could do that with a thing 50 pounds, like a 50-pound ball. Why would they
Better
have
than
done
those
this?
bombers.
absolutely.
No, why are you sacrificing more than half? Because they,
Your only
they didn't
ship
have,
that you've got left. Yeah.
They didn't have any fighters left when they came in. When Kylo Ren came in, went pop, 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 and blew up all their planes. They had 0 fighters left
Wait, so is that ship the only one of the available for that hyperspace jump?
at that time.
So
X-wings
It's
can
also
go
got a
to
certain
space.
weight and size that their other ships didn't
Who
have.
knows?
So-
Who knows what mass means in this shit?
So I want to make sure.
Well, I mean, in
Good point
warp
to make.
drive
So
or jump
they
drive,
have-
all
so
of that
Mon-
we don't know.
Mon Cal cruisers are huge, supposedly. So she went straight into the capital ship. Was that the Goliath? Was that one? Whatever.
Did they give it a name? It was just
No.
Snoke's ship.
It's a
Snoke's
huge one.
flagship, pow, and then it smacked it on, like just off center in its right wing, if you could call it that.
Mhm.
Big ass single
Chevron,
wing.
yeah.
But man, that was really cool. The cinematography, the sound effects, everything about
In
that
fact,
scene
I
was
think-
really cool and fantastic. But you're like, why didn't they do this before? If they were going to the Death Star, they could have sent that to the Death Star. They had light speed. They had Mon Cal cruisers that were blown up. I remember watching Return of the Jedi, which was awesome.
Star Wars
And then-
comic
So we know the explanation
Like-
is in the
like-
universe. The writers hadn't thought about it until this film.
yeah. It's like,
But in the universe,
were
maybe
they not
nobody
as
had thought about
desperate
it.
Back, maybe they weren't as desperate because that's a suicide bomb.
It really
To
is.
tell you the truth,
Sure,
you're
but
fucking
you know,
dead. If you had a whole Mon Cal cruiser with like 1,000, 2,000 people on it, more maybe, all of them are dead instantly. Dead.
So let's talk
So
some more about
wait,
the movie.
I don't want this to get lost because this is involves
Okay,
the ship.
I'll
This
let
is
that go.
This is a major
Suicide
point.
bombing.
This is I would say my number one problem with the general premise of our ticking clock. Okay.
Oh, there's so many problems with the ticket.
So the idea is that the rebel fleet or the resistance fleet, whichever you wish, is able to get just outside of range of the weaponry of the Star Destroyers. So this long chase ensues, and so we basically have like an 18-hour or however many hour like chase scene that just seems really, really silly, right?
Yeah.
That like, why can't the Star Destroyers themselves just go to light speed just for that short little distance to like catch up to them?
Yeah, why do they just speed up?
Well, I think this is why doesn't Hamlet kill his uncle in the first act?
Precisely.
Because the play would be over.
Precisely. But
It makes no physics sense because if you're firing a laser in space, there's not an appreciable amount of particles to lower its force. First of all, it's not going to arc. Second of all, it would hit the fucking rebels and kill them. But this is a Disney piece.
It is.
To
And
enhance the give a reason.
exactly, it's a total plot device. Well,
Yeah,
and further to like harp on the physics too. Just in general, they say that they can't move fast enough because their ships are too massive. That would only
Which
have
makes no sense.
that would only have meaning in an atmosphere where you actually have drag.
Because there's no weight.
There's no force, you know.
There's no weight.
So anyway, but Richard made a very astute observation earlier that why then, after the evacuation, are the Star Destroyers suddenly able to hit the evacuation vehicles from a distance?
Yeah.
From a greater distance.
Like magically. Yeah.
Magically, suddenly they're in
think,
range.
So I think that can be explained by the quote-unquote
Wah, wah.
shields of the Moncal cruiser being really strong.
Okay.
In-universe explanation makes actually no logical sense. But that also lends credence to, what's his face? Benicio del Toro and his character.
Ugh.
You know, like shoot the cloak bitches and then they get blown up. But that's another
Did he
another
survive?
piece. Yeah, he got a fat
Maybe.
ass ship. He got a fat ass ship.
Did he get off?
He got
Yeah.
Han Solo money from,
Yeah.
from
You know, it's
episode
interesting to
4.
compare
He's gonna
Benicio
cat.
del Toro to Han Solo because
Yeah.
Han Solo was kind of a scoundrel out for the money, out for himself, maybe even amoral initially, and this guy has kind of a philosophic amorality. It's all a machine, he says. Literally, the quote is, it's all a machine, live free, don't join.
Yeah.
Because the arms dealer who they stole the ship from got money clearly from both the rebellion and from the Empire.
he sold
And it
it
adds
to
this
the-
like subtlety and even this note of like means of production kind of capitalistic criticism. Like war is really just an economic device. And it's going to happen, and the names will change, the players will alter slightly, but it's not going to stop, and it'll resurge. And as if the First Order was created secretly by the people, and they even lend credence to this by the whole going on to Canto Bight and talking about all the ultra-wealthy who make money through arms dealing. Like, it's not actually about... Like that is brilliant, philosophically interesting for this film, to turn itself on its head and say, oh, this Jedi, this Sith shit... It's not actually about that. It's all about material conditions.
It doesn't actually go in that direction.
It doesn't explore it enough for it to be.
Wants to go in that
Yeah.
direction. Like the guy says, it's a machine. Don't join up. But in the end, it's just the resistance, which is good, and the First Order, which is bad, and we're back where we started.
Right. It doesn't yield or it doesn't follow through on the gesture that it
I
makes.
think they wanted to go in that direction, and then the writer was like, no, it doesn't really fit Star Wars, and so we're left with this.
Yeah, we can't produce more movies with that.
Yeah.
Instead,
Right.
it just goes through a.
Wait, can we
mall.
talk about Canto
It's
Bight
back to
and this
dualism.
bullshit? Can we talk about
I
this?
found the whole
Canto Bight was pretty and it was interesting, but it was mostly just like
I found that
Is
whole
that-
kind of like the Fifth Element or something. I mean.
Wait,
Honestly,
the
Canto
Fifth
Bight might
Element
be
was
the
one of the greatest movies of all time. Okay,
Well,
so-
the alienness of it, and I'm not saying that it was bad. I'm saying that's what it reminded me of. I liked those aspects. I liked the little scene where BB-8 gets things put in him by the drunk alien
Yeah,
that
that
thinks
was
that he's
cute.
like
That was
a
cute.
little machine.
Yeah.
The thing that killed it for me was when they had that very Disney, like a teen movie, crashes through multiple bars.
Oh
Yeah.
By the rogue, what are those things called again?
Fucking Galamine.
Those little,
Yeah.
those little cute horses, the cute horsey things.
The alien horses.
That
Yeah.
they
More
somehow
deer-like to me, but
they somehow take over and then
So-
drive through multiple bars throughout the casino in a road chase. Felt like such a Disney film that I've never seen before. Like it was like it totally took me out of the element of the entire.
The real problem with
Yeah,
this
I
was,
forget sometimes that these are Disney films.
It made it feel very.
It was
like
their
cutesy
stamp.
Little horses, these stupid movements, like where they have like Oh wait, you don't forget about that whole chase in space where your friends are going through.
You're fucking
Yes.
dying. Yeah.
They're dying, so you want to sit on the balcony and talk about your childhood? You don't have time for this right now. Stop.
Canto
Right?
Blight, that whole sequence was a complete waste of time and resources and character. There was no character.
Oh yeah,
development.
Finn,
So
for
I can't
example,
even
was
take that.
so underdeveloped through
Yeah.
the whole
Waste.
film. Like he just became
Rose
kind of
was
a random
waste
character.
Of time. Finn, in my opinion, in this movie was a waste of time. What are you doing?
It's a
Like,
Chewbacca
what's-
coaster thing.
Yes, it is. I got
That's
this
funny.
at Chewbacca's New Orleans, fantastic parade route. Everybody loves it. It was great.
Number 42.
Anyway, so that whole sequence made no real sense. So, okay, so I'm Poe Dameron. I'm mutinying this bitch. So I'm going to steal one of our very few shuttles for the survival of the freedom fighters in general. To give it to some random Asian chick who has nothing to do with anything. There is no, he didn't know her. He doesn't know her. She has nothing to do
She's
with
a
anything.
pipe. She's like pipe
And then,
maintenance.
and then,
Pipe maintenance.
It's a
and then the dude.
Oh yeah, she did say
A
she's behind
plumber.
Yeah,
pipes all
a
day.
plumber.
A plumber
She's a
named Rosie.
plumber. A space.
Well, you know,
Wait.
Super Mario was a plumber too.
Yeah, but
She saved the princess.
But he was going against turtles and not giant lasers. And then
So anyway, I liked
And
the
then
little
the-
bit of like, even though it felt kind of forced and out of place, the little bit of like Rose, Finn stuff at the end. There was a quote. That's how we're gonna win.
Ew.
Not
Oh,
not
God.
fighting what we hate,
I
but
wanna
saving
throw
what we
up.
love.
Yeah.
I wept at that because it was like.
the door
I want to fucking throw up.
Yeah,
That's bullshit.
because the aspiration and the orientation of it was
and
genuine. It was
she's crashing
valuable.
into him.
So
She's
yeah.
risking both of them dying.
Yeah.
I don't see how anything that she experiences
yeah, I
would
could-
led her to this conclusion.
I could take
You
it.
know what? Yeah.
I could take it as a simple like Disney trope force fed
Disney
into the
trope.
film again.
I
Yeah, I could totally see
absolutely
that.
agree.
It doesn't mean it
What
isn't
did?
any like less enjoyable for those who have hearts,
Should
but
she have stopped
it's
the
like
loop?
something that.
Or
What are
speeding
you talking
into
about?
the Star Destroyer.
He was going to sacrifice himself.
Oh, that part.
for the
Or what about her
greater good.
sister? Should she have stopped her sister from blowing up the dreadnought?
She didn't even know she was on there until after the fact. In my opinion, she didn't know. So she knew.
Well,
her
love is
sister-
irrational, right?
She knew her
it's
sister
not going to make
was
any
a bomber
sense.
pilot. She was going out, and then she died. She was like, "Oh, she died. That's sad." When Finn was going to sacrifice himself, he would have blown up that bitch. He would have blown up that shed, and it wouldn't
With
have
the old
changed.
school fighter that was
it
almost
wouldn't have
broken?
changed the ultimate.
He would have blown up his fighter. Yeah,
Yeah.
He definitely
It
would have
wouldn't have
destroyed his
changed the
fighter.
ultimate reality, which was they would have gone through that door and they would have gone to the Millennium Falcon and flown away. But that whole thing was so like artificial and ridiculous. Oh, love is gonna win. No.
There's no
Gu-
time if you.
Guns and
Yeah.
people are going to win this war like every other war. Okay?
First, we're transcending a war, except we haven't decided if we
Yeah,
want to do that.
love's gonna win this war. No, bitch. What are you talking about? You just sacrificed valuable. They had like 3 fighters, and she sacrificed 2 of them right there. And this is gonna win this war? No, I mean just complete
So,
lack of logic
there's a lot
and
of
strategy.
A lot of
I
questionable
really wanted to-
tactical decisions in
I
this
kind of
movie.
wanted to see him die there a little bit, and I thought.
I wanted to see
I
him
thought
die.
so, too. I thought it
wanted
would've
to
been-
see him
yeah.
die because you know what? It would set him
A
up.
noble
It's like, you know what?
character.
I
Yeah.
am okay with dying for this. 'Cause I'm gonna save my friend.
Because he's been running.
I'm
all
gonna
of this
save.
time.
I'm gonna
Right.
be running. You know,
It would have been a
been
better use of
Yes,
the character
yes,
than he
I
was used in the
absolutely
film for him
agree.
to actually have just died.
I absolutely agree. He
To
said,
prove
you know
the
what?
situation is
I
serious,
was
for
part of the
example.
first. I was
Yeah.
part of the first order. I was part of the problem. I was killing
I'm
people.
now part of the
I
solution.
shouldn't have been. I'm
Yeah.
part of the solution. I worked the whole first movie this. And the second movie, I'm going to sacrifice my life to allow my friends to escape. And that bitch wouldn't allow me to do it. But wait, so that happened, and then they crashed right in front of 19 AT-ATs, right?
And then they don't get
And he
killed.
was the only one that
And
kept
they let
going.
Yeah, they shot
How
down
did-
everybody
yeah.
else, and
How
then they
did
just stopped shooting.
How did they run a mile back to the fucking thing and get back on the Millennium Falcon? What do you call bitch? You just crash landed. That bitch was bleeding, and then he carried her ass on his shoulder into the
Actually,
base.
he drug her. and then
Into
he
the
drug her.
base.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like on a sled.
Those vehicles aren't slow. He must have been a mile
And they've got a
and
lot
half
of
away.
firepower when we see in the scene with Luke, which
Yeah.
incidentally, speaking of...
Yeah.
Speaking of those vehicles, why don't they have ejection seats? You'd think so.
You know,
like this
I-
fast
those are-
moving
I can
machine.
buy that these old busted up things, maybe the ejection seats
Yeah.
are broken.
That costs money.
They were badly designed.
This is the lowest bidder.
But
If
why
it just
didn't-
ejects you into space, it's not really that useful.
Oh no, but you have a parachute. No, because
the,
you're on the planet. So
I
you
would
just
like to say the cinematography was fantastic.
It was.
The scenes, the red,
Right,
the
but
white.
particularly,
Yeah, that wouldn't
the red salt. Yeah.
I thought the upgraded Imperial Walkers were badass. And then Kylo Ren was like, with every fucking gun we have. He saw Luke Skywalker and he knew there's like, I need every.
Yeah, let's talk about Luke. Luke from the very beginning, the way that Luke
Talk about
throws
Luke.
them. All right, so there's a lot to say about Luke. Like, for example,
Best part.
you know, all the guilt and shame
let's start
he's
from the
got.
front here. Let's
There's
start
the
from
way
the
that he
front.
throws the lightsaber. There's the way that we were given the gritty reality of a Luke broken by the epilogue to Return of the Jedi and what actually happens. And then we also get Luke triumphant, but the latter has to be won. And it gets won through Rey fighting throughout the film, through the Resistance fighting throughout the film. It was the perfect way to show off The Last Jedi. And then him transcending the title of the film saying, I will not be the last Jedi. And then you see that first scene of Rey.
So let's
and you're
start
like,
front,
awesome.
right?
So like Luke's appearance in the film, I would say I love all of it. I love the way that it happened. I think it's the best part of the film. I think that there's very little that could have been done to improve on it. Like you hear about Mark Hamill being really complainative about like they took it in a direction that I really hated. I would have never gone this direction. But it's a good direction. And he talks about how he eventually agreed with Rian Johnson. Like, hey, you know, this is good because it's interesting, and it's interesting because it's not what you expect.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't say necessarily agreed with. He submitted when I've said like he submitted it to
Oh,
Rand's
okay.
vision.
So-
More so
yes,
than
eventually when he
Rand.
understood it.
Yeah.
Because at first he was like, this is terrible, I don't want this. And then
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the beginning, right? Let's take this from those phases of the movie. At the very beginning, Luke is a tired and jaded individual, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't want to have anything to do with the Force. He doesn't want anything to do with Rey. He just wants to apparently, you know, milk the space cow.
And hunt the
was
space
awesome.
fish.
Yeah.
Hunting the space
Space
fish was
fish.
awesome too, the way that he
Space
did that.
fish, that was cool. Space fish and the space cow. He just want to chill.
And then the like space Catholic nun looking creatures
Yeah.
that clean the island.
Yeah.
It's a peaceful life.
Yeah. So the real question is that Luke's character? So when we were growing up and watched Star Wars and we saw Luke Skywalker, what was his character? His character was, he
Stupid,
fought, right?
silly farm boy.
He was
turns
silly farm
a little
boy.
bit more
He turns
mature,
into
and then he becomes a
yeah.
Jedi Master. And at the end, he's a Jedi Master.
No, not in
Slow
Return of the
down.
Jedi. Not Return of the Jedi. At the very end of Return of the Jedi, he says, "I am a Jedi." He's just barely into a Jedi. He barely got trained by Obi-Wan at all, and a little bit with Yoda. A few months. I don't remember the exact time.
Yeah, how long that
Return
was,
of the Jedi,
right.
or Empire Strikes Back. And then he came back in Return of the Jedi just to see Yoda die.
Yeah.
So he had personal experience, but he had very little exposure to Force and the Force line. And all of a sudden, we get to we didn't see anything in the last or the Force Awakens. And all of a sudden, in Last Jedi, he's completely jaded. He's essentially weak, you know, in his mind. He's weak. He has failed. He's terrible. He tried starting a Jedi Academy, which would have been great from the old, expanded universe. And then he failed, and then he became a hermit like Yoda, except without the knowledge. And he was a bitch, pretty much. He just, he failed once. He failed once greatly.
You know,
I don't see that.
He failed once
He
greatly.
started off that way. The entire
And then
point of the
for
movie is that
20
he was-
Well, the
For
failure
20
was so
years.
egregious that it
Yeah.
destroyed everything,
Yeah.
and it was also the result
Yeah.
of his own guilt and shame, which, as we
Yeah.
know, can eat away at anybody's
Yeah.
self-concept
But
so
that's not
powerfully
Luke's
that
character.
it.
That's not Luke's
It's his character
Yeah,
developed. It's his character with
No,
events
it's not.
and experiences. It's his character
It's
like
40 years
moved
later.
through life.
Yeah,
And his
he-
character is not a static, stupid little farm boy complaining about going to the Tashi station.
That's
His
true.
character is someone
Oh,
who
pick up some
becomes a
power.
Jedi. Yeah, so the power converters in Robot Chicken are actually strippers,
Yeah.
which is really hilarious. Like, I
So
want to go
it-
see this power
it-
converters.
In my opinion, it just doesn't make sense for him to just give up after. So he's never had a real great failure. So in Star Wars 4
This was it.
He kept going. He defeated Vader. He redeemed Vader. He defeated the Jedi. He found his sister.
It's because he
helped build
takes
the
his
rebellion.
responsibility so seriously that when he
Yeah.
fails, he goes into exile because he's afraid of doing it again. He also feels like he doesn't have the right to train Jedi anymore and does it only with extreme resistance after Rey pushes on him over and over and over again. He's walking around guilty and ashamed for what he did, and everything that's wrong with the universe is his fault, which is so the one event.
I didn't say that.
No, he believes it is emotionally. That's what he feels.
I disagree. I disagree because
The First Order and Kylo Ren. I think
Kylo
so.
Ren, but Snoke would have been around. Snoke would have found Force-sensitive people regardless. What Luke feels intimately is that like he had started, the new hope for like rebuilding the Jedi with the Academy, and that he wasn't able to persuade Kylo to stay. Basically, he lost the battle for Kylo Ren's soul with Snoke, and it cost the lives of like his pupils, his students, his Padawans, really, right? With whom he was like close and emotionally attached, and so he literally watches this thing, that this institution that he's creating, burn to the ground, and there's nothing but ash and embers. But what's worst about it is that it's not just Kylo Ren, it's Ben Solo. It's his own flesh and blood, his nephew. And he feels like he has let down his sister, who he's close to and loves. He feels like he has let down Han, one of his best friends, through all of these years. And so I think that it's on a really like personal and emotional level where he feels like he's brought an extra level of pain and destruction, and just capitulates because he feels like the entire like mission of the Jedi, there's always going to be an Anakin. He's thinking that there's always going to be
Always
like
gonna be a dark side.
someone that's going to be drawn to like the to try to control the Force instead of like let it flow through him. There's always going to be like the Sith or the Empire or whatever iteration it is. And so I think it's the combination of all of these like really complicated like emotions that like make him go to retirement. So maybe when he initially goes to the planet, to find the first Jedi temple, maybe at the beginning he's looking for some sort of like ancient wisdom that like the earliest Jedi can like impart to him. Like, what do you do in this situation? How do you handle it? And
So one of my questions was the Jedi Temple there, or was the Jedi Academy that he built with Kylo Ren, was that area?
I think it was a different planet.
Yeah,
I think it was different
completely
planet.
different, yeah.
Okay, so that makes more sense to me. But I really loved the idea of him going into that moment of impulse, like in that evolution, one side and then another. It totally changed your process. Whose side am I seeing? And that was really interesting. Evolution. And I still don't know how I feel about him. Like, I still don't know if I feel like I was really want Empire and be the Emperor, or if he. I really want her to do it.
It would have been great if like it had gone either than something.
Yes.
And good.
Yes.
for sure.
There's a lot of stuff in this movie which is new and different, which is not good. Like
So to come back to Luke, one thing that I think like that I can definitely comment on is I thought the scene with Yoda was fucking awesome. Because we in the prequels, okay, everyone was so excited when the prequels first came out, right? New Star Wars, right? And the Yoda that we see on the Jedi Council, the Yoda that we see through all of the prequels doesn't feel like the same Yoda that we saw in Dagobah.
it's different character.
This Yoda is absolutely the same character, the same like Jim Henson Muppet that is willing to like knock Luke, an aged Luke, on the head. In fact, actually, I don't know if y'all caught this, but he calls him young Skywalker because Yoda still has 700 years on the guy. So I really love that return to like the more classic traditional Yoda as we first met him, because I think part of like the inspiration, and I don't know if this came from Lucas, presumably it did, but in Empire, part of what made it so great was this idea that you didn't have to be physically imposing or have this like appearance of being either wise or brawny to be like strong with the Force and connected. Yoda was basically the fool, but playing a part, and it taught Luke a lesson. And so I just really liked to see the return of that Yoda. I thought the dialogue was really great, and to be honest, seeing Yoda just torch the tree, when Luke hesitated about it, and then just he laughs about it, I thought that was so poignant. That was perfect. Y'all don't think so?
When I first saw Yoda pop on his throwback, no, don't do that.
Disney,
Why are you doing this, Disney?
I can
And
understand.
it evolved, and I completely agree with you. I think that
So
like where it became like a
homage.
an homage.
Instead of what's the word?
It became
You
like
get
it
to
was-
see Yoda fight with a
Yoda
lightsaber. Yo.
Yeah, he's-
I think Yoda was actually guiding him to a very spiritual and profound moment, and I think that actually did help him with his transition overall arc. And I really appreciated it. And I thought that was. What did you think?
What I wonder is, so Luke's whole arc, he starts off as it's like the whole theme of the movie is failure. Everyone's plans fail. And
Yeah.
the question is, what do you get out of that? And this moment with Yoda is where Luke it's where he gets the wisdom. But I don't know what he really gets out of that. Like, Yoda tells him that he needs to be in the present and look beyond his failures. Like, he's been on this island like 30 years and he hasn't.
It's a good point.
But it was good cinema.
It was really cool to see the trailer. I really can we talk about the mirror image that Rey had gone into, like when she finally dived into the dark abyss, and it's just her own image reflects back in, and it ultimately reveals kind of nothing almost.
Yeah,
like
no.
she just sees herself.
The movie, I feel like the movie sort of chickened out at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, like I didn't know what else.
she sees herself. Wow, that's so deep.
I don't.
Yeah, is that what you came from?
Yeah.
I don't know if this is relevant or if it was intended, but to those super nerds out there. So in Star Wars: The Force Unleashed, excellent video game. There's a scene where the protagonist, who basically is the former protege of Vader, who's slowly like coming to the light side. And so he has his own like Dagobah cave moment, and so you go into this cave, and it's like this like hall of mirrors where like he sees like his Sith self in the mirror, but it's like an exact like mimic of like what you do with your character, and so it's this like kind of like cool sequence where like there's a part where it's a jumping game, you get to like leap between these ledges and whatnot, and like you and your double are both like going to the same places, and you have to like jump to the ones that are like mirrored on the other side because the actual like rocks.
Okay.
So anyway, but it just reminded me quite a bit of that stylistically, because it was the same kind of concept, like this like cave of mirrors.
Cave mirrors.
I like the idea that she was drawn there by the dark side. I like the idea that the light side has an intent and the dark side has an intent, and that it ultimately proved to be empty. Like there was nothing there.
Yeah.
There was no information for her to glean. It was almost like the dark side was just kind of like fucking.
I love that he was so horrified at the fact that she was open to explore it and then come right back to where she was. That was I think it was a very profound part of her exploration.
Yeah, beyond the Jedi and the Sith, right? Like
Yeah.
this whole notion of like the dark side isn't that bad when you're allowed to explore it and just appreciate it for what it is, and maybe even integrate it. She gets angry during the fight with those red guards. You see her.
She got angry in the fight with Kylo Ren in The Force Awakens. I noticed that. Like, you can see it in her face and her facial expression. She's not fighting like a Jedi.
Yeah, which is what we've been hoping for, is some sort of advancement beyond the dualism into more of the gray Jedi kind of thing, where like, and gray Jedi not in just like they're Force sensitive that's not aligned, but gray Jedi and like someone who balances the Force, brings balance to the Force within themselves, and has an integrated aspect of both. And so like, maybe she's got some of that. Maybe that's what's in those texts that you see in the Millennium Falcon at the end, is the access to that is only given to the high-level Jedi. Like, oh yeah, we can talk about it, but anyway, that would be interesting. That would be an Episode 9 thing worth exploring, if she actually integrated Sith stuff and Jedi stuff into some sort of new creation.
That's
That'd be cool.
That's
Yeah.
where I thought they've been going. In fact, I think this is another example.
It's time for the Jedi to end.
Of what y'all were, what we were talking about, but kind of like a kind of confused message, because it really seemed like that was the setup. But in the end, we're still left with no. But really, the light side is the way to go. That's the one.
Is it?
Yeah, it's not necessarily
the
clear.
resistance is certainly.
I mean, is it going to be a yin yang, and who's going to win? They have to end the story at some
They have to end it. They have to sell movies, so the Resistance has to win at the end.
Episode 31.
Yeah, totally.
Which will.
They're going to run out of synonyms for the Resistance.
In 2055.
Every generation has its hero. Every generation has its trope that fits with every Star Wars film you've seen previously. No, I mean this was good enough in terms of having something new and different and interesting.
I did think it was different compared to.
Did we finish
what
off
they've-
Luke?
What they've done
Did we
otherwise.
follow?
We did.
Oh,
but
okay.
we
More
can
about
come
that.
back.
Because like I liked his astral projection thing. That was
Oh, that
cool.
was
Oh, you
awesome.
talking about
That was so
His
neat.
battle meditation was badass.
Yeah.
It was the best part.
And it-
So if you explore what was it, the Heir of the Empire, where the
Timothy's
book,
So
Zahn.
the
one book
Timothy
I read.
Zahn books,
Yeah.
the first trilogy. Luke was Banff. Well, I mean, he's already Banff in the books, and I thought it was very clever that he never actually touched anything
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
in the
yeah,
movie, and
Yeah.
he did that one spin move when he went like
He touched
bam,
Carrie Fisher.
like bruh.
He did touch.
I mean,
yeah. Well, so maybe he had the ability to materialize as much as he wanted.
When he touched Leia, she looked at him like something weird's going on. I noticed this the second time around.
Oh yeah.
So he was touching her so that she knew that he wasn't really
It's also interesting that the dice were left over even after he
Yeah, but
disappeared.
Yeah.
The dice disappeared too.
Yeah, they did eventually, but how? It was like a manifestation of his force will.
Were they part of like the Millennium Falcon? Like
Yeah,
like,
those were Hans.
Yeah, when
Those
was
were Hans,
it?
like,
Was it?
like
Return,
dashboard
was it?
dice?
No, that was Empire Strikes
Fuzzy
Back.
dice.
Well, he
Those
had
Empire
those in
Strikes Back.
Empire, and then he puts them back in place in The Force Awakens. Like, this is my home, we're back. I'm back.
I'm sorry, but that just reminded me of Spaceballs.
That's okay, so did the iron!
Because they
So did
have fuzzy dice in Spaceballs.
Did anybody else notice the really egregiously weirdly looking clothes iron ship that just shows up? Richard, you remember.
I think that actually was like the
Richard
iron that they were
knows.
zooming in on that was ironing that uniform.
Oh, so it was an actual iron.
Yes, it was an iron. That wasn't part of that.
I know. Yeah.
That was so stupid.
That looks like an
We
iron.
did not need
It
that
wasn't.
shot.
They're trying to steam their clothes.
It's uniform iron.
Speaking of uniforms, I liked Leia's dress on crate with the like obtuse kind of angle.
The collar. Yeah.
The collar, that was just so cool, and it's on all the
I
like
noticed that,
posters. And then also I noticed that Finn looked a little bit like Han Solo when he was running towards Rose after he had been knocked out of the sky. Like he looked like Han
Bleh.
from Return of the Jedi. So that maybe there were some visual
Wait,
echoes
Han
intended.
was wearing the same outfit in all
For-
three films.
Yeah, except in the first one he's got the jacket. In the
Yeah.
second one, after he is put into carbonite, whatever.
Carbonite.
Carbonite's the thing from Star Trek. And then in the third one, when he's about to be executed by Jabba at the Sarlacc pit, he's just wearing the white with the pants.
He doesn't have his vest.
He doesn't have his vest anymore. Yeah.
Oh, my phone. I
dress
can't
up for
check
him.
that.
Yeah, I mean you can. It's fine. I like BB-8 was the
BB-8's always bad.
breakout star of this
It's
film.
very
Clearly.
toyetic.
I mean, I like. What is that?
Merchandisable.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, I like when his head comes off. That was funny.
Yeah.
I like when he's driving the ATST. I like when he's in the little tin thing. I thought it was sad that you didn't get more scenes with him and what's called BB-9, which was the Empire version.
Yeah.
You get like just one scene of
Spy.
BB-9 looking at
Spy
them.
droid.
Yeah. That, I mean,
It's like a drone droid. Or
well, it's
something.
like a bad version of BB-8.
No, is it red?
No, it's black.
No, it's black.
It's
With
it's
a-
the
with a
one that
more
has the-
angular
Yeah,
head.
it was the one that was like
it's the
looking
Sith
at him.
version.
Yeah. I
The
mean, that's
fir-
like
yeah.
the same since the beginning. Yeah, C-3PO and R2-D2, and they were the
Actually,
droids.
have you seen the? There's a comic book series where it's a version of C-3PO and a version of R2-D2, except they're assassins for Darth Vader, and they just go off and kill people. It is really fucking
so you
cool.
made the
Wait,
same
Is
droid
it the
as
newer
Assassin?
ones? This is the newer.
This is within the past like 2 or 3 years.
Why would a protocol droid be used for assassination?
Because the writers of the comic thought it was cool
Who would you least expect but C-3PO?
to murder you.
It's like-
Yeah.
Why would you build a
What-
protocol
you know,
droid?
Yeah. Wouldn't you
what
build
is
an
the-
assassin droid like IG-88?
Yeah,
IG-88 was so cool. Shadows of the Empire was
Yeah.
the best.
Shadows was great. What was the in Old Republic?
Steve would know. Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't know his name.
Meatbag.
Yeah.
No,
There's that
Oh,
scene.
DX, 9X something.
What's his name?
913,
Oh my god.
915. Shit, my sister might know. My
We
sister
need
would know,
a
my sister would
Google
know.
here on a phone. I don't have my phone up here.
Where's Rachel when
Anyway,
I need her?
that was a great character.
I love that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fantastic
AKA.
game.
This is the MMORPG?
No.
No, that was
Knights of the Old Republic.
Knights of
Oh,
the
okay.
Republic 1 and 2.
Clearly, I'm not up on my Star Wars video
Jesus
games.
Christ. If you would love Knights of the Old
I
Republic.
tried to get into Star Trek Online, but
No. This is the ultimate of all video games. Period.
Connect.
all right. So we had
connect to my
a
network.
brief intermission because of the thing on the phone. We're back. So let's see. I'm almost out of notes here. This film was not very entertaining in IMAX 3D. I felt really disappointed.
Really?
that
You saw it in 3D?
Yeah, I felt like it didn't. Because I saw it without it first, and then I saw it with it second, and it was
So,
just like there wasn't much of a difference.
So me and Stephanie saw the Rogue One in 3D. I remember. Or is it, Force Awakens? One of them. It was
I
Force
love that
Awakens
look.
with Rey.
That
That's what we saw.
was like Spock bemused look.
And then we saw Force Awakens in 3D.
Is it?
And then I remember
it was the one eyebrow raised.
The only portion in 3D.
I can't wait till we get back to talking about Star Trek. By the way,
Anyways. Wait. The only portion.
we're gonna have to relabel this.
The only
podcast.
portion in 3D that I remember is when the giant fucking Star Destroyer appeared in the Force Awakens. The first time it appeared in the theater, it was 3D, and then the nose of it came out at you.
Oh yeah. You mean the very
Yeah.
first scene when it's or
Yeah,
that's
later
the
on?
only-
No,
redeeming
the
part of it.
giant first time you saw the Star Destroyer, the big new one, and the rest of it, I don't remember anything about 3D.
I don't remember anything about at all.
Yeah,
as
so
far as
that
3D.
so seeing it 3D, don't waste your money.
The 3D
Yeah,
that's
really,
what I was
for me,
saying.
breaks the sense of scale.
It's
but when
stupid.
watching a 3D movie and there's something that's supposed to be huge, you're seeing it from far away, it always looks really small.
I mean, it's just
Yeah.
they don't do it well.
I mean, it's just what they already have.
Yeah,
It's
I mean the
3D.
new Star Destroyer. Well,
Disney.
in another
You only
sense, the
have
new
a-
Star
Amount of
Destroyers
money.
are not that
In
interesting
their
anyway.
mind, they only have a limited window of promoting where they are actually more money out of that. Like,
It's
where-
like
Yeah,
space,
let's- like
space
1/3 of
balls.
our
The
actual
quest
thing.
for
Let's
more
just
money.
admit it. Let's admit it right off the bat: profit motive, capital acquisition, and marketing. Yeah. These films are
Space
not as
balls,
awesome
the
as they could be.
lunchbox. I mean,
Episode 9 should be them realizing their real enemy
Flamethrower.
is Disney.
or the market forces that are making
yeah,
everything
can't
happen
wait
behind the
till
scenes.
fucking
We're just fighting the same
Star
battle
Wars
over
world
for
in Epcot.
the
or something.
entertainment of people in movie theaters.
So we had another interruption, which reason for that will be lost to the mists of history.
The haze of history.
The haze of history.
Did we talk
I
about
think-
Jacob Light?
I think we talked a little bit. I liked Maz. I liked how Maz showed up for just a little bit. And what the hell was going on with her camera? She had a camera that was observing her while she was in fighting.
And she could send out
And
a
it was
little
like,
graphic of the rose thing.
yeah, so it was almost like she wasn't engaged in battle. Or maybe she had like a holographic camera that was orbiting her. Maz, the one with the big eyes that
yeah.
showed up and talked about
fuck
the union.
her.
And
Oh my word!
anyway,
I
she
hate
was
that
cool.
character.
I thought she was fun.
Useless.
I liked the scenes with Ray and Luke. I'm not sure if you guys talked a lot about that while I was gone, but like just how they kind of butted heads initially, and then how she fought him. That was cool. I really enjoyed that this time. And then she pulls out the lightsaber, and he's just like, "Oops, okay, you can have the information now." That was really entertaining. I am almost out of notes here. Yep, officially out of notes. A-. That's what I give it. Closing thoughts, each and all. Let's go around. Start with Stephanie.
I loved it. I loved a lot of every single scene that Luke Skywalker stole. Mark Hamill is just fantastic. Embodied every character, and then every scene involving sabotage removed me from. But overall, very beautiful, enjoyable Star Wars.
On an A to D.
A to D, I would give it a B plus.
A B plus. Yeah, I was almost there until the last couple scenes with Luke. I was like, no, this is A-.
The Force meditation and him
Yeah.
just kind of calling an end to that last battle. That was great. That made it for me.
Steve?
What about you, Steven?
So I would say that this was a very uneven movie, but that nevertheless did hit pretty much everything that I wanted out of a Star Wars film. So
It did. It really did.
It had
Space adventure.
It had lightsaber battles that were not gratuitous.
They were actually interesting. The stakes were interesting, and then what was going on.
Lightsaber contact. No.
That's true.
Really?
Yes, that's true.
That's interesting.
Luke does not make contact with his lightsaber. With Kylo
Except
Ren.
with Kylo Ren in that one scene where it's in the past. Where Kylo's defending himself,
you're
which
right. Only
but
that
what you're
flashback.
saying is absolutely true, that there was no contact between anyone else at any point in the film except for that, which is a really
flashbacks.
which is a really cool narrative thing.
It's a good. I didn't know.
It's
I like
almost
it
a
too.
symbol.
I thought it was ridiculous, going back to
I think that, just to finish that thought real quick, I think that might be the first time we've seen a blue lightsaber in a green fight.
Right,
So-
because Ben Kenobi and Anakin are blue, it's blue and blue.
Yeah. So anyway, go ahead, Steve. It's just, those are really cool.
Well, I was just going to, contrast this judicious use, with, like, say, Attack of the Clones.
No. My brother has the best quote on this. He's like, I watch Attack of the Clones whenever I want to see all of the lightsabers. Just like...
Because clearly that's really what's
We
going to
can't
make
get
the
enough.
scene great is
More
lightsabers. It's
Massive failure.
It's like the SNL skit. This really needs more cowbell. Anyway,
That was great. That was worth the whole podcast right there. That moment.
So anyhow, so I felt that was very appropriate. I think that honestly, I'm being totally honest here. I think that in terms of like the space battles, this had the best space battles of any of the movies, any of them. Which of course they're taking advantage of, the modern, visualization arts and everything like that, full use of it. So I thought that was totally great. I felt like thematically it was a little bit confused as far as what message it was trying to send, and came to conclusions, or seemingly came to conclusions that were then undone by the end. So I would say that the majority of the points really hit me the right way, but ultimately it still has like some significant flaws. So I'm going to agree with Stephanie and give it a B. Richard.
So, I'd say it's a B. I think the Luke, Rey, Kylo, Snoke stuff is excellent. It was all very well done, very touching, very intriguing. I wish it had more space. Everything other than that, I felt like was kind of a waste of like Cantabile, Admiral Holdo, all that stuff.
Cantabile.
And it was
Can't abide. Can't bite.
all that felt like dead weight, and it had a lot of plot holes. That's my
Guest star?
Great.
Still recording?
Yes, it's still recording.
Richard gives it a B.
Let's see. I've been watching Star Wars since I was probably 8 years old.
Until this movie.
When I was, I come home from school.
continuously.
I would go into the living room and no one went into the living room because there was a family room and no one went in the living room. And I would watch Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi over and over and over. Until I realized that The New Hope was a thing and Tatooine got added into the mix. And they went to prequels.
This story.
And then we went to the new sequels. Force Awakens happened and then this movie happened. And they just turned everything on its head. And the Canto Blight was just ridiculous. And you had two main characters, right? You had Rey, and you had
Rose.
Kylo. Man, oh my God.
Rose is not a character.
That was a very Richard Futrell kind of
That was
thing to say there.
an incredible intersection. Kill yourself. And so you have two sides. You have Kylo Ren, and you have Rey. And what is a Star Wars movie, right? It is the classic hero's tale.
Yeah.
And Rian Johnson tried his best to turn it on its head, to try to get the hero to be the villain, the Rey, try to get with Kylo, and then Kylo try to go good and then go bad, and then Luke to be like and just like pass out, and the whole transfer of the story. And at the end of the movie, you have all these people that are trying to do all these things, and they end up with nothing. Literally, they end up with nothing. Except, where Rey saves some of her...
There's like 12 people in the Resistance by the end of the film.
There's 20 people.
There were 12.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There were 12 people in the Resistance at the beginning of the movie.
They all fit on the Millennium Falcon. The entire,
It looked like there were a couple hundred at least. Those ships, there were a lot of ships.
Yep. The entire rebellion fit on Millennium Falcon. So what I think about this movie. So I went to the theater. I wanted to see a Star Wars movie. I wanted to see Luke kill some fucking people. Okay, that's what I want to see.
I'm sorry.
I've been waiting. I'm 30 years old. Okay, this year.
Me too, as of
And
tonight.
then, hey.
Stefanie Jemison.
Yeah.
Stephen is 31.
Happy birthday, Louis!
Oh,
31.
thank you.
So I
Richard is
wanted
30. What?
30.
Oh,
30
wow.
is 31.
The 30s have it.
I'm an old man. I'm about to turn 32.
Old bitch. Anyway.
Oh.
So I wanted to see.
Sorry, we love you.
I grew up watching Mark Hamill through fucking Star Wars,
Doing his stuff.
the Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah, the Joker.
And Wing Commander and whatever else. And then he came in this movie, and then they could have used him through so much, and they didn't. That's okay.
It was disappointing too.
It was okay. It was personally disappointing, but it's about a Star Wars movie, and it's about the hero's journey. So it's about Rey and Kylo, and which one of them is really the hero, right?
Or Finn, right?
No, Finn's not a fucking.
Finn was supposed to be a main character.
Canto
according to the
Blight
first one.
can be deleted from the movie, and they would have been exactly the same place.
Yeah,
they
it would have actually.
exactly the same place they were.
They would
You're
have
right,
better.
because
So,
it didn't work out, and it was
so,
just
I've
added
been waiting.
in thief. Yeah, you're
So
right.
when Mark Hamill did a bit for The Force Awakens, I was like, Luke Skywalker is going to whip out his green lightsaber, and he's going to fucking kill some stormtroopers.
And it's really just him
It's
staring.
going to be an incredible thing, and he didn't even have a line.
Yeah.
And then The Last Jedi came, and Luke Skywalker, the greatest Jedi that was alive in the galaxy, did absolutely nothing for the Jedi, purpose. He didn't kill one person. He didn't really save one person. They would have been, he wasn't even there. He was a fucking astral projection. He didn't do anything, and he died.
He battle
And then
meditated and
Mark
started fighting.
Hamill. Mark
And he ascended
Hamill
into the
was
Force.
in that movie, and he did all that shit with Rey, and he didn't have the character, or the Disney didn't have the character to put him in a place where his own physical body was in jeopardy,
And in
that
fact-
was insulting.
But
honestly.
he distracted the.
He distracted Kylo Ren for 4 minutes.
But why? But why?
Okay.
Totally put a standstill in
Okay.
the entire battle.
So
Like,
what did this
it's
movie really
amazing.
do? We had a Moncal cruiser and 3 ships run away from a fucking thing
And
for
they
2
get
hours.
destroyed.
For 2 hours, and the first 20 minutes was a really cool scene where some bombers with World War II homage to Tora Tora Tora, okay? And we had Luke Skywalker saying, you know what, I failed once. Even though I killed the most powerful, enemy in the galaxy.
Emperor.
Plus his enforcer. And I turned his enforcer to the good side at the very end. And they
Technically,
tried-
I think it was Vader that it was them
Yeah.
together that killed the
Yeah.
Emperor. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. But, where do you go from here? Everything's gone.
It's all gone.
Luke's gone. In real life.
Han's still gone.
Han's dead. Carrie Fisher's dead. Luke's dead.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Snoke's
really
dead.
terrible.
Snoke's dead.
Where are they gonna go?
The rebellion is literally 20 people. Literally
Rebellion
20 people.
Only has a spark of hope.
Yeah, there's a spark of hope. Rey is, a little Jedi, and she's not even Jedi.
She's a baby Jedi.
She moved some rocks.
Yeah, she's still able to do what
moved
she
some
thought
rocks,
the Force does.
And that was the greatest feat she accomplished up to this time. And you have
She does
20
have the
people,
Force books,
She does.
so she can teach
Versus
herself more.
an
I thought it was burned up.
entire
No,
military
they see him in this
machine.
last scene. They're in the Falcon.
Oh, cool.
This is fucking China, okay? Tiananmen Square. And they killed everybody who had anything to say against them. And where do you go from there? And it's Disney. And that's the sad part. So I love Star Wars, but
Yeah.
the rebellion's dead. They have 20 people. The Jedi are dead. They have Rey. She has no teacher. So Luke had Luke had Yoda and Obi-Wan. He had Obi-Wan to
So in
teach him
terms of a
whatever.
rating, though,
Yeah.
What's your
What's your rating,
That's a
Benny?
C. I'm an average. Okay, so so when the movie ended, okay, so you're like, what's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen?
He declines to give a
Yeah.
rating.
C. I said C.
C plus, C minus.
Just a regular C. So episode 1, right? Even though it was terrible,
Wait,
You're like,
that's
you
not
knew-
the Last Jedi.
It's
you
a
knew where it's
C.
going. You knew where it's going.
Okay.
Let's start with episode 4 then. A New Hope ended. Empire Strikes Back started and ended. Return of the Jedi started and ended. You had a thing, a complete.
You kind
storyline.
of, with A New Hope, you kind of have a complete story. You could have
Yeah.
just ended there.
Yeah,
and then
that's
with
great.
That was
Return of the
original.
Jedi.
No, don't even talk about the
Yeah.
full ending
Wait,
of the story.
so
That's
what's
the
gonna
real
happen?
story.
So
Well, I mean, like-
when the Last Jedi ended, what? Everyone's
next? Where do we
Everybody's
go
dead.
next?
Everybody's dead.
Everybody's dead now. Hope and change.
Obama, I don't know.
Obama.
Like, what are you gonna do?
What? All right. So I see that this is devolving.
This is a C.
This has
I
been a
mean,
lot of fun. Happy
I love
birthday
Star
to
Wars,
Lewis.
But this is a C.
Happy
man.
birthday
Like,
to Lewis. And I give it. So my take. Save the person who started the podcast for
going,
last.
keep going, man.
A minus. I think because I
A
enjoyed
minus.
it. I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was.
I enjoyed it too, but
It
not
was
Star Wars. It's not
something
a
that.
traditional Star Wars movie.
It was something that showcased Luke going in a different direction than we would have all expected, including Mark Hamill, which was fun. I just loved the way that he showed up. I had no attachment to him showing up in a certain way. And, they took his absence from The Force Awakens and they turned it into something that was equally weighty here. Like, okay, not only is he absent and we're all trying to find him, but he's absent for a reason, and it actually adds something to The Force Awakens that he hid himself away. Everybody's trying to find him because he's a powerful Jedi, and he turned all of his Jedi powers on finding the most out-of-the-way planet to get away. And so, him being brought back, I see this film centrally. I mean, you put everything else aside. You put Finn, you put where it's going to go next. It is him moving from guilt, shame, and apathy into willingness and acceptance to some degree. You see this in those scenes with Yoda. Acceptance of failure as your greatest teacher, failure as something that happened in the past, and failure as just part of life. Which I love how Yoda's like, hey, it's good to see you, Luke, again. Because clearly you've got some shit to learn still that you didn't learn when I was with you before, and I'm here to teach you now. And so the film is about the Last Jedi and about his character arc, and he grows, he develops, and as one of my coaches likes to say, if I'm still visible, I've still got work to do on healing and releasing shit that's in my body, etc. And so when Luke finishes his dharma for the Force, he disappears. He's not supposed to be there anymore. He's done doing what he's there to do. And he's done doing the healing that he's resisted for 20 years. And it's really just about him becoming engaged, which he was when we saw him in Empire Strikes Back, A New Hope, Return of the Jedi. He became disengaged, and so it's about the Last Jedi finally passing on what he learns through the example of his life. And that's how I read it, right? De gustibus nil est disputandum, right? Especially concerning readings. So that's why I give it an...
De gustibus non est disputandum means concerning taste. Nothing can be...
Ultimately.
Concerning taste.
Which is the great...
Nothing can be disputed.
It's the great myth of these podcasts that any criticism or any variant perspectives have any influence on anybody else's. Like, you have your judgments and opinion and you're listening, and I have mine. And so anyway, it's been an honor to have all of you. It's been a really interesting podcast to have 5 people at a table together. We might be doing another one shortly on Star Trek. I don't know. We love you, listeners. Maybe
Don't forget to like
12
and
of you.
subscribe.
Thank you very much.
Like and subscribe.
Thank you very much, and have a good evening.